The lilac is in bloom. Oh, it just fills the whole garden, the whole patio with my favorite scent, lilac. I really think they're my favorite flowers. And you know what? I'm noticing the bees on this. I think it's their favorite too right now. Hi everybody, I'm Lori, your Milkweeds and Roses gardener, Zone 5B gardener here in Iowa, a wildlife and pollinator garden. And to that end, I'm always looking for plants to put in. And I haven't tried Veronicastrum before, but I think it is important to find a place for this and to keep the flower power going, not just in spring when it might be expected, but in the summer, in the fall, in the late fall. And to that end, I have a couple of perennials that I'm planting now. Now is the best time to plant them so they can get some good roots and get going for the real fall show. Let's find a good place for this Queen of Diamonds, Culver's Root, Veronicastrum. Here we go. I think this would be a good area. I know that Culver's Root likes full sun, and don't let this time of day fool you, because it's just that right now in the early morning, this is pretty early, the sun hasn't come through here yet. But I know it does for sure have another condition that it does appreciate, and that is moisture. This whole area remains pretty moist, so I think to that end it should be pretty good. This will be a good spot for it. So nestled in here with some of the other moisture lovers. Let's see what I can get in here. I never know until I go digging around. Now here are a couple of seedlings of Morning Glory, which I knew that would happen. That's always a possibility. Once you plant it, you'll always have it. But if you don't want it to grow a certain place, this is the time of year to pull out those little seedlings. It's really easy to do. Okay, so let's see what else we've got in here. Oh yeah, it's really moist. Let me take you down here to show you. All right. See, this is plenty damp still. And you know, when the sprinkler is on, this whole area also gets coated. Oh, look. Got some worms in there. Okay. Well, and like I said, this area does get full sun in the afternoon once the sun clears this fence. But this is some nice, rich, black soil, clay down underneath. Plenty of worms in here. That's always a good sign. But we've been mulching this area for years, so it has improved the soil. Now let's see if I can get this out. That's kind of what I thought. It's a little bit, some formidable roots, but tease them out a little bit. I think it'd be pretty good. Maybe a little deeper. Okay. Ooh, there's a nice big worm. I like him. He'll go back in there, darling. All right. I really struggled with this area a couple years ago. Oh gosh, I bet it's always longer than you think. So I bet it was 8 years ago. A tree of heaven took root. And my husband was enamored with it, thinking it's just a regular tree. Isn't it fun? And they are interesting looking, you know. But they're a weed and they're invasive. And once they get in there, they're kind of hard to get out. So I remember chopping that thing out by hand. That was a journey. So yeah, be on the lookout for tree of heaven. Definitely not a native species. Okay, let's get some moisture. Even though it's nice and damp here, it's always important to water a plant in anyway, just to help settle the roots in the soil around the root ball so you don't get air pockets. Here we go. Okay. See how it soaks in there fairly quickly. It doesn't stand in place because, again, it's some nice, well-draining soil here. It used to be a real problem with nothing but heavy clay, but I've been working on amending this soil and with wood chips, and it really helps. Really helps with it. Okay, job done. Now I'm going to put this temporary tag in there till I get my new one in. Help me remember what this is, will you? Okay, there we go. Okay, I think that'll be a nice little companion planting. Add some height to this area. Maybe shade out this hosta right here, because this hosta, and I have to get these moved. These really fry in the summer. They're just left behind from, they were here when we arrived, but there used to be a big tree right in this space that was taken out. So then all of this area got tons of sun. So the hostas that the previous owner had get scorched. So year by year, I try to keep them moved, because this is a gorgeous hosta. I have no idea what it is, but you like the beautiful little white margins on there. So I definitely have a space for her in my hosta garden. So let's get her moved too while we're here. Now this time of year, it doesn't seem like a big deal. They look great, but it's early. I mean, I'm talking about late May, June, middle of June, July. These get really ratty because of all the sun. And really any time of year is a good time to move. Well, I shouldn't say that. Any warm season, once spring hits, it's a good time to move hostas at almost any stage of their development. Now, these guys are right up into the stone wall here. It really, it's a healthy stand, but they've kind of outgrown their space here too. Now, these work because they're shallow rooted. That's why they're here. I'm sure that's why she planted them here, right? Yeah, but these are beautiful, so I want to definitely keep these. Looks like this would be a good spot to move those hostas. There's definitely a hole here. There's some other things that I'd planted that didn't come up, tulips. But it was an experiment after all. They were previously bloomed tulips. But this is a nice, fertile spot in the shade. So, and there's nothing else in here competing, so I think this will be a good spot. Plus, these hostas look a little bit different than some of the others in the area, so that's what I'm all about. But I just know they're too pretty to just toss. You know what I mean? Gotta try to save them. And since hostas are shallow rooted, they actually, they actually like this area under trees is a good spot. Nice shady. This has more moisture than some of the other areas of my garden, like under that maple tree. This is just a natural, I don't know if, I need to look that up. I think this area, there was a natural drainage that went between these houses, and, a neighbor installed a French drain and some other things because drainage has been an issue. It gets a lot of moisture, and when it rains, it just goes boom right down the hill through this area. I've actually had plants dislodged and mulch dislodged, so yeah. There's some nice moisture right now in the soil. I do know that much. So let's just plant this handsome little clump right here. And it sure won't have to worry about leaf scorch in this area. If there's a real small tree root, I just chop it with my hori-kori. If it's big, I find a different spot because I'm not going to damage the tree. These guys are old and they've been through a lot. All right. Okay, that one goes in a vase. There's no root system. All right. Now, in my experience, these take to transplanting pretty well, as long as you're not trying to do it in the dead of summer, where it's hot. So they tend to do pretty well if you make sure to keep them moist. It's like they barely even notice that they've been moved. It's pretty crazy. And there's a lot of mulch, fresh mulch in this area too, which also helps. Let's see what we got here. All right. The last step is a good water. And now on to planting some fall blooming perennials, starting with blunt mountain mint. Not the typical mint, like the highly invasive thing. This one is fragrant, rabbit resistant, blooms in the fall, and it is the perennial 2025 perennial of the year. So I think this is a nice place to put it here with my major wheeler honeysuckle, because I'm going to start calling this pollinator point up here on top of the waterfall. And on the other side of the pond, not to be confused with edible rosemary, this is non-edible rosemary. In fact, it's poison, but it is used for a boggy, wet area, great for butterflies, hummingbirds, and this area tends to flood when I get a lot of rain. This is kind of where the pond seeps, and so this area is always wet. I thought I'd try it there. And then on to the big project. Frankly, I've been putting this off for a while. I need to repot my lime tree. So I did this just last year, but the pot was pretty much the same size. So I decided to upgrade. Now, first thing I had to do was cut a significantly bigger hole in this thing than what already existed, because I know that lime trees need good drainage. And this is just a broken pot, mostly so the soil doesn't seep out there. It's not going to block anything. But this is going to be a bigger pot than what it's currently in. And the best part is I can lift it with one hand. It's just, plastic. So, this type of thing, which is nice because I'm going to, after all, have to move this in and out. Now, it wasn't cheap, but again, a good pot is worth it. Now, I'm going to put some of these clay pebbles, leca, in the bottom for just a little bit of added drainage, and I'll also put it on the top. And then I looked at some other well-draining elements to put in there. Worm casting, perlite. Of course, everyone knows what that is. I have some leftover container potting soil as well. And I sort of got this recipe put together because, and some citrus tone, a little bit of that too. That's the fertilizer. And I thought I'd just mix it all in my old wheelbarrow. Now, it's because I ordered some lime tree potting mix, but this is such a small container that I'm like, okay, that's a nice place to start. And so I kind of saw the recipe from that, all those elements. So, okay, I started with those two things and then added the nice, well-draining coconut coir potting mix. Big bag of that. There's a little bit of my fertilizer now. Ooh, this stuff smells. So, and then perlite for added drainage, lots of drainage. And then some of my leftover potting soil, nice and black. Put that in there. And this is very satisfying for some reason, mixing up this potting soil. But I wanted to make sure there's no clumps in there and it's thoroughly mixed together. Okay, found my hori-kori. I'm going to need that later. But yeah, just mix it up really nice. And I added some worm casting soil in there as well. So this should be nice, fertile, light soil, because I understand that lime trees, of course this is all new to me, but lime trees need a lot of good drainage. They don't like to dry out completely, but they do need some well-draining soil. They hate to be waterlogged. So then the next bear of a step here was taking it out of this container. Now this is an expensive, heavy, frankly, ceramic container. I knew this wouldn't be easy, but I didn't realize how much it had already grabbed in there as far as roots.
So, oh man, I mean, who says that gardening isn't a fitness endeavor? I'm so glad I lift weights. I can't even tell you. Yeah, so again, Hori Cory, muscle this baby out of there. Shake, shake, shake. Didn't want to tap it too hard because I don't want to crack this pot. I love this pot and I'm going to use it for other things. But man, I finally muscled it out of there and took a look at some of the roots. And yeah, it is more roots, frankly, than soil here. So I know it is desperately needed to repot this thing. So started with that leca in the bottom, not a whole bunch of it, but just enough to, you know, cover that little clay shard in there, that's all. And then I'll put the soil on top of that. And I was surprised at how much soil this actually took. So in fact, I had to mix up almost 1.5 wheelbarrows full of that soil recipe to get this to where it would be comfortable for this lime tree. So I mixed it in there well and then put the lime root ball in there. Now you can see it's not an overly big pot. It is deeper, but it's not like twice the size because I do know you don't want to pot up that drastically because that's just asking for trouble, no matter what you're going to pot. So the top there is just adding again those clay pebbles. They're lightweight, but they're decorative as well. But also I'm trying to discourage the diggers out here, the chipmunks that like to come in and bury things. So this is a nice way to cover the roots, because I noticed the roots had started to appear on the top of the pot because it was getting so root bound that the roots are starting to pop up on the surface. So I wanted to keep those covered so they don't burn. And, also this is helping to improve drainage because I want to, avoid white fly and that type of thing when I have to move this baby inside. So you'll notice before I water this and add significant weight to this pot, I do have it on a rolling coaster because that's what I'll need to do to move this. Even though it's plastic, it's still, when it's all done, heavy, and I need to move it around the patio easily. So here comes the water, and this took like 1.5 watering cans because I wanted to keep on watering it, get it thoroughly dampened until I do see some soil starting to come out the bottom. Now, that rolling caster has a hole in the middle, so that also promotes drainage, and I lined it up with the hole in the big pot. So whenever it rains, that type of thing, it's got good drainage.
As soon as I got done planting those things, then a whole other shipment arrived, this one from Heirloom Roses. So remember how I said I lost 4 different roses this year? Well, I ordered 6. One is for my parents' garden, but yeah, at least I know what next week's video is going to be about. Plus, I also have to move the rose on the hill. Do you see the one right over here behind me? Okay, that's because we have a new tree arriving in less than 2 weeks. And if you can see where that white flag is right there in the background, that's approximately where the new tree is going to be planted. Now, a lot of this depends on, as they mark the electrical lines and those things going on back there, the ideal spot. But I know it's close enough to where that Bassie's purple is that I'm probably best moving the rose and finding a new spot for it, at least till the tree is in place and I kind of know what space I'm working with. So, hey, the work's only beginning. It's an exciting time. I do hope that you subscribe so we can keep track of all these projects together. Maybe you've got some roses to plant or to transplant, to move. So we're certainly in this journey together. Thanks for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.